Hello, my name is Evan Lewis,
I'm Jaime Sepulveda.
and today we'll be interviewing Mr. Robertson on December the 13th, 2019 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Today, our videographer is Raul Barajas. Starting with our first question, what do you recall about your childhood?
My childhood, it was very peaceful. I mean, I came up here from the South at the age of 2, and I wasn't with my real father. I was with a stepfather and my mom, and everything. It was okay. Not well. Besides that, my stepfather was an alcoholic, and but other than that, it was okay. I mean, sometimes I had my good days, and then had bad times. So, but I think I had a lot of fun when I was younger.
Where did you go to school as a child?
I went to Monarchy Avenue. It's like right off of 14th and Monarchy.
What did your mom and stepdad do as a living?
My mom was pretty much as like a nurse's aide. She worked at St. Mary's Hospital on Lake Drive. And my stepfather, he worked at a company called Rexnard. It's like a place where they build car frames and stuff like that for automobiles.
What do you remember best about your mom and stepdad?
Best about my mom? Oh man, my mom was very close. And my mom, we was real close, man. Treated me well, didn't have to want for nothing, took care of me, and we had a good relationship, me and my mom. My mom passed away though in 2004, but as coming up as a child, she was a good mom. Now my stepfather, on the other hand, like I said, it was almost like he was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So when he's on the juice, man, things wasn't so good. But then he had the days when he was like Dr. Jekyll, everything was okay. But for the most part, to be honest with you, I really didn't too much care for my stepdad. I'm just gonna be honest with you. So, but the good times, my mom, love my mom, miss her.
Understand that your dad wasn't in your life, but your stepfather was.
Right.
Did your stepdad fill the role of your biological father? If
Yeah.
so, explain.
Okay. Well, the stepdad, the only thing he was just a provider. So far as being a father, like being a role model and to put me on the right path, not so.
What did you and your siblings do in your spare time?
Me, I only have one sibling. That's my baby brother. We played a lot, man, and but a lot of times I used to try to ditch him as I got older. I didn't want him to hang around with me, so I kind of ditched him, and but we had fun, me and my baby brother, just me and him, and yeah, we had fun. We had our little spats every now and then, but for the most part, we had fun.
What types of games did children in your neighborhood play besides hide and go seek?
Oh man, we had this one game called Kick the Can. It's pretty much like hide and go seek. Everybody go hide, and they have one person to be out there with this can, and they'll turn around and have their eyes closed, and they'll count, and somebody will come from out of nowhere, kick the can, then everybody will go run and switch up and go hide somewhere else, because this individual, he or she had to see where everybody was at. And while they're looking, then somebody come and run out and kick the can. Then everybody go out and just scramble and hide in different places. And man, we had fun, man. I mean, I could get a old tire. I remember the times we'd get a old tire and just roll it around, and and pretty much that, man, that's about it, man. We made fun, man. We did something. So it didn't cost us no money. So.
Would you say that you were a respectful child or a troublemaker?
My mom taught me to respect people, especially those that were older than me. But I never was the type of, I wasn't a bad kid in school. I never did, I just wasn't a bad dude. I wasn't a troublemaker. I didn't like to be around trouble. I kind of like to, but don't get me wrong. Every kid, they gonna get into a little mischief every now and then, but I wasn't a troublemaker, and I always like just to have fun. I was like the cool person. Never, I didn't like to fight. I didn't even like to play fight. I didn't like that, so.
Going on to a little bit of your stepdad, has the actions of your stepfather ever had a negative influence of your own personal actions? I would say that. I mean, my stepdad, man, the things what he used to do, I mean, it was like he would treat me differently from my brother, because that was my brother's father. So, he would do a lot of things. He'd do things like, say, for instance, when we were teenagers, and my brother was number 15 years old, so my brother, he got his little driver's permit, this and that, and he would buy my brother, the first time he brought my brother a 79 Monza, bought him a car, and I was older, and my stepdad would tell me, every time when he do things for my brother, he would tell me, well, this how we treat the baby, So in other words, this how we do the baby, And I used to get upset. I felt bad about it. But as I got older, I started to say like, well, really, he's not my father anyway. So then it didn't bother me. So. But he, I believe I could say he had a lot of negative things, came from him that caused me to be more, to become more of a rebellious person. So. Did the negative influence of your stepfather ever affect your relationship with him?
Oh yeah, pretty much, yeah, a lot. It was days where I wouldn't even want to live there, and it was like a lot of times he used to always antagonize me and, and just for no reason at all. I don't know what it was, but just, just gonna be transparent with you. I just didn't like him. I just, only thing he was to me was just a provider. So love, didn't get none of that from him.
As a kid, how did you view the city of Milwaukee from a social standpoint?
Milwaukee was good, man. I mean, it wasn't as bad as it is now. It was good back then. I mean, you could get a job, real easy, and it wasn't a lot of, people got along a lot more. It wasn't a lot of unnecessary shootings and, killings and all of that. To me, it was a lot safer. Yeah, you had your bad times. Certain things, but for the most part, I mean, on a social standpoint, it was good, you know.
As a kid, how did you view the city of Milwaukee from a financial standpoint?
Well, from a financial standpoint, it was, I say, once again, it was pretty good. I mean, it was, you know, you could get a job, man, like, you can get a job real easy, you know, and money was good. I mean, even the things that, for instance, at McDonald's, back then when I was a kid coming up at McDonald's, you get a Big Mac probably for about 65 cents or something like that. So now what a Big Mac alone would be about almost $3. So everything was good. A pack of now-laters, you know, you see these little bitty now-laters they got, the candy now-laters. I remember they was about this long, and you would pay 10 cents. Now they got, about 3 or 4 of them for 25 cents. So, you know, even the chips, the bags of chips, 30 cents. Now a bag of a little, and it's not even a regular size bag. So it was good, man. I mean, your money would last longer. I mean, but now, compared to now, it's tight.
I know you described in your childhood that you played certain games like hide and go seek, kick the can, rolling tire. What time were kids expected to come home?
Kids were expected to be in the house. Well, they used to have this thing on the used to do this commercial to say it was an 11 o'clock curfew. And a lot of times, every night, a certain time, right before 11, they're showing the television, parents, do you know where your children are? You know, and basically, you know, for the most parents or most kids, they would have to be home before the street light come on, at least be sitting on your porch. Because if you wouldn't do that, then it's on. So curfew, you at least have to be at the house, man. I mean, you know, I put it to you like this, before the street lights come on, be on your porch.
Did you play any sports during high school? If so, what were they?
I didn't play no sports in high school, but in junior high, I played basketball. I was, and it wasn't up here. That's when I was in Mississippi. Because I was migrating when I came up here when I was 2, but I still had relatives, my grandparents. You know, I used to always go back and forth. So one while we went down there and we stayed a while during my the years when I was going to junior high. So I went to this junior high school called the name of the little town was called Ruleville, Ruleville. So some people say Ruleville, but in that little town, and it had one little public school and it had one high school. So I went to the little public junior high school, and I tried for the football, but the guys down there didn't too much like me because I was from the city. So, you know, and then not only that, but when I got down there, some of the little young ladies, I was pretty much of one of those dudes that would try, you know, just talk to the girls or whatever. They didn't like that. So when I tried for the football and we played scrimmage, they tried to kill me. So I stopped playing football and I said, well, I'll wait for the basketball season. So when the basketball came, tried out for the team, and my position was forward. So we had a winning season. We was called the Ruleville Bulldogs. So I still remember we played 22 games and we lost only 1. So we had a winning season, and you know, that was cool.
How was Ruleville different than Milwaukee?
Oh man, so much different, man. People would wave at you. They didn't even know you. They wave at you, man. It was just, I mean, the air was better. I mean, you know, we're in the South. It was fresh air. The food was freshly grown. Most of the people had grow food in their own backyards or whatever, and everything was, even the water tasted better. So it was a lot better, man. You know, wasn't a lot of killing. But the only one thing, though, was as a black person or a black man or a black woman, still had to be careful because of, you know, where it was still prejudice down south. So you still had to be careful, you know, where you go and, you know. But other than that, man, if I could go back, I would probably be down there right now. So.
Were there any political dilemmas that affected any school events? If so, what were they?
Could you repeat that?
Were there any political dilemmas that affected any school events that you had? If so, what were they?
Political dilemmas. Well, you talking about here in Milwaukee? Man, you know what? You probably have to come back with me with that question. Let me think about that one a little more. Because, yeah, come back with me with it.
In the pre-interview, you mentioned attending at Northside. How does attending a school in Milwaukee's Northside High School differentiate from other Milwaukee high schools?
On the north side, well, as of right now, I believe, because I am a head custodian for MPS, and with my perspective, I believe the north side doesn't get treated as fair as the south side. And what I mean by that, like when it comes to like getting things plowed on the playground or around the building, the parking lots, or getting people to come to do certain things. And it could be because of the way the children act on this side of the city versus on that side. But I still think that, you know, everything should still be fair. You do this for this, you do this for that, regardless of how the children act or whatever. But north side definitely get treated, to me, worse than the south side.
Do you still have friends from North Division that you talk to today?
Well, when I went to North Division, man, I didn't really go there too long because I dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. So I run into some people that when I was going, you know, to school or whatever, but pretty much most of all the people that I know is from my junior high, you know, or even in the elementary. I know still I've run into some people, you know, but when I went to North Division, I didn't go there that long because I end up getting with the wrong crowd coming out of junior high school, and it just took me, you know, morally so to the dark side. So I didn't have too many, didn't really go, you know.
Was it hard finding a job as a high school dropout?
Well, not with me. I mean, because when you just, you know, some people is just in them and some people is just not. You know, that's one thing that I always did. I always, you know, managed to get me a job. Even when I was younger, I did paper route, or when it snowed, I would learn how to hustle and go shovel whoever snow need to be done. But when I dropped out of school, I mean, you know, I was, you know, you can get a job with temp services, you know, it wasn't that hard. But it was hard to get really a good job if you didn't have your diploma, or GED. So, yeah, I would say to get a good job, it was hard.
At what age did you recall leaving home?
I left home at about 18. Yeah, about 18 or 19. But when I left, I come back, leave, But really, 19, that's when I really kind of just stayed away.
Where'd you end up going?
Living with females, I was more so the type of guy, the type of dude that you wouldn't want to take home to introduce you to your mom or your parents. I was that type of guy, so yeah.
Why did you personally leave?
Well, the main reason why I left was because of my stepfather. I just couldn't take it, because as I got older, it was like more and more and more he was, trying to provoke me, and and I just left.
What was your first thoughts on leaving home? Were you scared or excited?
No, I wasn't scared, and I wasn't really excited either. I just just left, man. I mean, I wasn't worrying about nothing, but because I knew how to survive, so did whatever I could do.
How did your life change from that decision?
From that decision right there,
The decision of
leaving home,
yeah.
well, it changed. It didn't change real good. It was for the worse, because then I was, like I said, I ended up going more so to the dark side, doing things that's, a lot of things, man, that just wasn't right. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't the type of guy that tried to hurt people or stick people up, but, I just didn't have the right person in my life to really steer me in the right direction. So one thing led to another. I end up, when you get with I got with the wrong crowd, end up getting introduced to marijuana, which they call it something else now, but, got introduced to that, and went a little further. They called marijuana the gateway drug. So I ended up doing other little things, and it just wasn't good. It was like a spiral. So it wasn't nothing good. So being promiscuous, that too. So sorry about that.
What types of clothes did you wear as an adult?
As a young adult, like around that age,
Yep.
oh man, I was a smooth dresser, man. I love Stacey Adams, baggy pants, maybe a nice little fresh shirt or whatever, and kept myself looking real well. Kept my hair done right, and like I said, I was just one of those smooth guys, man. Didn't like to hang out with crowds. I was more so like a lone wolf, or just,
What was your primary musician to listen to as a young adult?
Music. Oh man, I love Parliament, Funkadelics. I love percussion, drums or, congos and stuff like that. I love that type of music. Jazz, funk. Yeah, that was me. No blues. No blues. Just that. Maybe a little R&B. But that was the type of music I liked.
What type of music did you notice people in Milwaukee listen to as a young adult?
They love to listen to, like, you know, Kool and the Gang, Gap Band, you know, just regular R&B. Not too much of jazz, especially younger people. And more, you know, it was more. It was a lot of rap, but it was clean rap. It was like a message. You know, you could understand what the rap was about. So, yeah.
What types of clothes, what types of styles did you notice people wore in Milwaukee?
Back then?
Back then.
And well, the styles was in the 80s, you mean? Like, it depends around what, because, you know, it changes with the years. You know, the styles had changed. Like, in the 80s, it was more so, well, I'll take you back to the 70s, it was more so leather, you know, maybe bell bottoms, you know, but then as it came to the 80s, more so you had your Levi's, your Jordache jeans, and, you know, you know, just it was a lot different from now, a whole lot different. It wasn't too revealing, you know, as the women wouldn't dress like the way they dress now. So, you know, jeans, it's, you know. And the gym shoes would be All Stars. Wasn't, you know, that was the main thing, you know, or Pro Kids, you know, stuff like that. You know, as a shoes, wasn't no Jordans in. I mean, you know, early 80s. So.
Did you ever attend Summerfest?
Oh yeah, man. Summerfest, I worked at Summerfest for like 13 summers. And as of right now, I got the guy I work for, this Greek guy named Steve, Demokopoulos, something like that, you know, Greek guy. Real close with him and his family. I worked for them for like 13 summers. And yeah, it was some fun times. And when I worked then, it was fun when I worked down there. So, yeah.
Have any of your favorite musicians played at Summerfest?
Oh yeah, a lot of them. Parliament. A lot of them, man. Maze, Frankie Beverly, Maze, Public Enemy. Yeah, quite a few, man.
What was it like to live in Milwaukee as an African-American male?
Well, it was okay, man. I mean, it wasn't, back then, you still would have to be careful, like, you know, regarding to with the police or whatever. So you just have to be careful, man. I mean, you know, because with your color, you know, it's like, it's just certain things and certain places you just need to not be, and, you know, but it wasn't as bad as it is now. You know, I put it to you like that. It was, to me, it was a lot safer, you know. But Milwaukee always been pretty much of I'll say that is a racist city, you know. So, but it's just, it was worse. It's worse now than then.
I know in the pre-interview you mentioned a little bit about Chief Breyer. Can you tell me more information about him?
Well, he was a racist, and it would just be dangerous for a black man to be anywhere, especially downtown. Anywhere when the sun went down after that, a black man had no business being nowhere near, especially downtown. It just was a bad chief, man. The worst we ever had in the city of Milwaukee. The worst. You know, there's a lot of things that he just was corrupt. So.
Which significant historical events have taken place during your lifetime in Milwaukee?
Good and bad. Bad, well, Jeffrey Dahmer. And I remember one time, even at the Summerfest, it was a kid had got thrown into the lake, and drowned. When they did the riot in L.A. at that time, in the Watts, same time in Milwaukee, they tore Milwaukee up too. 3rd Street, it used to be a lot of businesses on 3rd Street. So when the riot was going on then, it was going on up here too. Now the good times, good things, wow. I can't hardly really, too many good things, man, but more so a lot of bad things. At this moment, I can't really think of nothing right now, so.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Going back to Chief Breyer, would you compare Milwaukee's Breyer to the South's Bull Connor?
Bull Connor. Oh, Bull Connor. Yeah. Yeah, this guy now, he was a bad dude too, right? Bull Connor, yeah. Yeah, I was, yeah. The same, just, yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that name, yeah. I would say the same, man. Yep.
Now going towards Jeffrey Dahmer, did it change the city's culture?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, I don't think so.
In your opinion, did it give the city a bad image?
No, I wouldn't say he gave our city a bad image because we got guys like that in a whole lot of cities, you know. So, no, he just was an evil person, man. I mean, you know, Milwaukee is Milwaukee is all right, man. It was still good back then in spite of certain people like that, and even you know, I forgot to mention whatever named Ed Gaines. So, but he was in Wisconsin. So, but yeah.
Was everyone in the city on edge?
Oh yeah, especially people that were homosexuals, because he killed a lot of people that was like that. So, and that's where he used to pick up most of his victims. That's where he picked them up, you know. If you notice, he killed all men. You know, I even worked with one of the guys, the guy that got away. I worked with his twin brother. I worked at Hardee's with his twin brother. I remember when his brother was on the news, well, not on the news, but doing an interview with Geraldo. And I was looking at the guy, and I was looking at him. I said, and he looked, because he was light-skinned and he was dark. He said, yeah, that's my brother, man. I said, wow. So I worked with the guy, twin brother, the one that escaped from Dahmer.
Was there a scare in the black community, given that a few of Dahmer's victims were black?
Yeah, I would say so, but more than so, scared for people that was homosexuals, because it seemed like he wasn't really targeting straight people. but he was targeting them because those are the, he hung out at the gay bars or, and it was just a big shock though, man, And my stepfather lived right around the corner from this dude because, after when my mom and my stepfather, they finally had split up, but he moved right off 24th and Kilbourne, because that is right around the corner for where the apartment was at. So he lived right around the corner from this guy. Yeah.
Talking a little bit about your family now, did your family have any special traditions, such as things they did on holidays or birthdays? If so, what were they?
Well, man, my family is not that tight, so we did what we did. I mean, holidays come around. In my household, we would always cook a big spread or whatever, and we would go to our different family member houses or whatever. But so far as just being a real tight-knit family, my family is not like that. So my family is my inner circle right now. So, I do speak to them, but ever since that my life has changed for the good, as letting Christ in my life, it really separates me from my biological family.
Is there anything that has been passed down to you from generation to generation, such as an item or stories, memories, things of that nature?
Yes, I got a lot of pictures, a lot of photos. I got this one particular photo. My grandfather was a pastor, and I got a photo right now, black and white photo, where he was baptizing somebody in the Sunflower County down south in the river. I have that photo right now, and his name was A.J. Robertson. And I got a lot of good photos, man, and a lot of, things that I got from my mom before she passed away, when she passed away. Mostly photos, yeah.
Is there anything you have that you would consider passing down to your family line?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to always pass that knowledge down, whether they want to receive it or not, and I'm trying my best to do that. But I may have I got quite a few things that, my son would like to have, and when the time comes, I'll hand it down to him, And I even got a nice little piece of money that I got put up. So, but none of my children won't get nothing if they end up on drugs or doing the wrong thing or whatever. They will not get nothing. So there's going to be conditions where they receive something, and my wife will see to that.
Are there any other items that you have that you would consider passing down? Maybe like a watch or some shoes?
Yeah, I got a serious wardrobe. I got some stuff, man. But I got clothes, I got things right now that maybe younger people wouldn't want. But I got some nice things, man, real nice. I got a lot of nice pieces of jewelry, and like I said, though, I would want to pass it down to somebody that's doing the right thing. I'm not going to just give it to anybody. So, none of my kids, you're not doing right, you won't get nothing.
Would you say the absence of a father figure has made you a better father?
At first it didn't, but like I said, now that I made the change in my life, I always said that, I made a promise that I would always be there for my children, because it wasn't there for me, I made a vow, especially since I gave my life to Christ, that, I was going to do better. I was going to be better. My wife even said in the past that the way I treat my children, the way I do for them, she said it seemed like that you had somebody to do you like that. But I said to myself, I'm not going to rob them like I was robbed. So it stopped right there.
Did you know your grandparents or great-grandparents?
Man. On my mom's side, never met. Father, never met. I met my father, but one time, my real father, but my grandparents, just on my mom's side, loved my grandparents, man. Loved them. I remember, because they stayed down south and we stayed up here. And I remember when we used to go back and forth down there and we'd come back. And one time my mom told me that I was so mad that when I got on the Greyhound bus and I didn't see them get on the bus, she said they was waving at me and I thought they was coming on the bus. And she said I cried so hard I wouldn't let her touch me. I love my grandparents, man, on my mom's side. I love them.
Where in the South did your grandparents live?
Ruleville, Mississippi. Grandmother, man, my grandmother was more so like an evangelist, but her husband was a reverend. So, and they were awesome, man. My grandmother also was a seamstress. She would go into a store and see an outfit and would go home and make that same outfit and bring it and show the store owner. Yeah, a woman, good woman.
What stories can you tell about them and their lives?
About them? Well, I remember one time my grandmother, I saw her snatch a guy up that was taller than her and was hitting him upside the head with they used to have these cans, these little spray pumps for mosquitoes down south. They real old, but I remember one time she got in the middle of it was my uncle and some other guy. She got in the middle of their fight. They taller than her, and she just snatched the other guy up, and they all respect her. Her name was Charity Robinson. But she hit that guy upside his head, and it tripped me out. And then she used to always say, when it's time to go to church, if you're not going to church, you got to get out of her house. So, yeah, my grandma, man, a lot of stuff. I saw one time she went into a grocery store with not 1 cent. And got all of this food in this shopping cart. I was in there with her. And got to the register and talked to the store owner. He was one of the store owners, was at the register, and this man let her go out the store with all this food just on credit. And just with that faith alone, I'm like, wow. She told the man, you know I'm good. Whole basket full of food. But yeah.
Do you have any other stories from your parents or grandparents about life in Mississippi during the 1950s and 60s?
Yeah, one time I wrecked my mom's station wagon, a 77 Pontiac Catalina 455. I wrecked it. Me and some guys was getting ready to go to the bridge to go smoke a little weed, drink a little alcohol, and we riding down this road, and it was a tar road, and I thought we was on a road where it has this little turn, but instead it had a 90-degree angle. And the guy in the back seat was talking about my mom's car, like, yeah, this thing can't do nothing, this big old bucket, wow. And I was looking at him in the rearview mirror, and as he was talking, I made the speedometer lay down. It was 120 on the dash. So I made it go to sleep. They call that let it go to sleep, just lay down. And the guy in the back seat, he stopped talking then, and he got afraid. And I thought I was on this road though that has a little turn, because I was gonna just hit the turn, and break it down. But as I got closer, I ran out of tar and got on gravel. Window was down, stuff was getting all in the window, and the guy in the back seat, break it down, break it down. And when I saw that 90-degree angle, I saw it. So I tried to spin it all the way around to a 360 to go back the other way, and the back end caught the ditch, and it went up, the whole car went up, and bam, fell all on the passenger side. It didn't roll over, it just fell on the passenger side. And I landed on the guy right here, and everybody was, it was quiet, but everybody was all right. So we get out the car, and I was rubbing my head like, man, and all that. So some old Caucasian guy was pulling up, and he saw us, and he asked if we need a little help. He pulled the car. He had a little truck, and he had something. He pulled it out. So this side of the car still looking real new, and that side was smashed. So we didn't go. That was it. We didn't go to the bridge. Everything was canceled. So when turned around, the car was still drivable. Turned around, went back home. Everybody got out the car. Let me go by myself. And as I got closer to the house, it was on a nice day, and my little relatives, they saw that side of the car, but when they saw the other side, and they just, and that was it. And they told on me, and if I'm not mistaken, I think I did get it, or I don't think I got a whooping though, but my mom barred me from no more, and I just, but that was crazy.
I know you mentioned that your mother, she worked in the medical field while your father worked at Rexnord.
My stepfather.
Your stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
What was your stepfather's reaction to the sudden economic downfall of the company?
Oh, I can't really say, man, because he had retired. So, he was good, man, living off his pension and drinking a big bottle of liquor. He was an alcoholic, man, so I really can't say I didn't like the dude, so that was it.
Was your family financially stable at the time? How did this affect you and your family, positively or negatively?
Well, we didn't want for nothing. My stepfather, was one thing he did. He took care of my mom, and my mom, she had her own little job too, but, everything was good. He took care of us, but it was times where he would, curse at my mom and, be very verbal, abusive. He used to, it was physical as when I was smaller, but as I grew and began to look him in his eyes, the physical stopped, and then now it was just verbal, because I believe he knew then that, I was able to look him straight in his eye and like, hey, no more. So, but other than that, man, he took care, like I said, he was just a provider. Wasn't a good husband, he wasn't a good father. He was just a provider. That's all.
What was your first job?
First job, paper route, paper boy.
So how old were you at the time?
I was 12 years old. 12 or maybe 13. Go deliver the papers. Friday, collect day, that's when I collect the money. It was good, man. Made my own little money, so. Yep. And also, don't forget, I used to shovel like when it snowed. I would make a lot of money, man. Go to door, shovel people's snow. Honest, man. Not go knock nobody in the head and, take somebody. I earned my keep.
What were some other jobs you've had here in Milwaukee?
Here in Milwaukee, as I was coming up, keep in mind now, I did go back to school and I got my GED, and this was after I got employed by MPS. But before I was at MPS, I used to work at Cops on Port Road. I was there for like about 2 years. Then from there, I had took the test I found out about MPS. I took the test, waited maybe about a year. They called me. As I got promoted at Cops to assistant manager, that's when I got called for MPS. Then I left there and been with MPS for maybe about 9 years now. I'll make that, let me change that back, 12 years. 6 more years to go.
Did you face any discrimination trying to attain the jobs you've had?
At Cops, but it was just with one person. But he tried, but he couldn't do it because I had favor with the owner. And every time he tried to sabotage my money drawer or tell me this, what I couldn't do, but he couldn't touch me for some reason because the owner, I had favor with the owner of the whole business, and his name was Carl Cops.
I know in the interview you had mentioned that you have a strong relationship with God, and you have a strong relationship in Christianity. How has Christianity impacted you in your family's life?
Oh man. If I could have been introduced, which I was back in the day, but I just wasn't ready. But my life, I put it to you like this, I'm living my best life right now. My best life. I mean, I went from worse to good, man. I mean, I'm loving it right now. I mean, I don't have too many friends since I made this move, and that's okay. But man, I've become a better man, better father, provider. I mean, I'm good, man. I mean, it's just I'm loving the ride, and I wouldn't go back for nothing in the world where I came from. No amount of money could take me back. I'm loving it.
Younger in your life, would you say you were somewhat religious? How has Christianity had an impact in your life?
Well, when I was younger, I didn't have time for none of that, But I always still had respect for I would say God in a way, because if I come past a church, if I got a 40 ounce or whatever, even if I had a cigarette, I wouldn't even, when I walked past it, I put it out. I wouldn't curse in front of a church. Anybody that was a Christian or whatever, I wouldn't disrespect them, But I wasn't ready back then because, I had a different father. So, but now I got the good father. Now I got the father that created the universe. So.
Did you go to church often as a child?
When we was down south, man, I used to go with my grandmother. I go with her, and man, I tell you, nothing like the churches up here in the city. And most of the churches down south, they, at the end of the service, dude, on a Sunday dinner would be right there at the church. And you talking about good food And it's something too, man. Like with the churches, it's something like most of all the churches, the cemetery is behind the church. But it was amazing, man. I mean, I went because with my grandmother, I was made to go though, but
What food do you love about Milwaukee, and what food defines the South?
Oh, what food? Well, man, I don't think nothing up here, man, can I mean, my wife, she's not a Southern girl, but her mom is. So my wife got all the teachings from her, but the way the food you just can't compare it, man. There's no comparison, man. I mean, like with the greens and the macaroni and cheese and I don't know, man. You can't compare it to down there though. Everything is just so different and better, man. I mean, I don't know now, but I know when I was down there, I believe it still is, because everything is better, so.
Can you tell us how?
What do you mean, like better? Well, like I said before, even with the water, man, the water is so light. When I was down there and when I come back up here, it seemed like it's so heavy. And, with all the stuff that's going on, with the problems with our water and the lead and all of that. But down there, man, most of the water come from the well, and it's better, man. And the food is more so, it wasn't, up here is more genetic modified, but down there, they grew their food, man. It wasn't with a lot of stuff like what they do here. Think about it. It's probably down there now, but just think about it. You eating something that don't even have a seed in it. It's something, it's man-made. There's nothing like with the seed in it, man. So it's just different, man.
What food do you recall your grandmother making?
Oh, man. My grandmother made so much of everything she made was good, man. One thing in the morning, salmon croquettes, or she said had these little riblets. She would fry them, and then she'd have it like in some kind of gravy or whatever with rice, homemade biscuits. And then she'd make this other little thing, they call it a hoe cake. It's like it ain't nothing like a big biscuit, but it's like a little cake, but oh man, everything my grandmother made, man, my grandmother was cold, man. The master. That's what I call her, the master. No ingredients written down, straight from her head.
What was your favorite meal from your grandmother?
My favorite meal? Her fried chicken. Yep, with the biscuits. The potatoes. None of that instant stuff. The regular potato, bro. Potato that you peel. So.
On that topic.
Fried okra.
Fried okra?
Yep, sorry about that.
No, you good.
Yeah.
On that topic of food, what is the best thing to eat at Summerfest?
At Summerfest, man, where I worked at, to me, was the best. The gyros, man. A lot of people they say gyros, but it's really not pronounced like that. It's gyros, the lamb meat, man. And with that fresh pita bread, with the onions and the cucumber sauce, the meat that they shave, not the processed stuff. I say where I worked at was the best food.
Were there any other meals that you enjoyed at Summerfest?
Go to Major Gooseby, get them wings. I do that, and some fries. I love potatoes, so and get the fries, and that's pretty much it, man.
I know Milwaukee is known for their brewery. Are you interested in any beers?
Not no more, man, because now that I'm a changed man, I haven't had a beer, man, over 23 years. Cigarettes, all of that. But when I did, used to drink Miller Draft or Old Style. But when I really want to get drunk quick, I would go to malt liquor. So.
Did you ever attend any cultural festivals at Summerfest?
When they had African World Fest, they used to have that one, and that's about it. Those two. Yep.
How did Christianity lure you away from drugs?
Well, once, like I told you once before, when I was introduced to marijuana, I end up trying other things, and like cocaine, which was one of the main drugs back in the 80s. I began to travel down that road and, try it out, and then one thing led to another. I began to lace the cocaine on top of the marijuana, and then it got to where I didn't even want to smoke plain marijuana. I always wanted the coke on it. They used to call it the Primo. And when I did that, I began to do that, and then my baby brother, which I didn't say it really is about me, but my baby brother was a drug dealer, and he got into that because we both were, well, let me say it like this. He owned a car business that was called High Rollers. And what he did, and I helped him out, we put hydraulics on cars, we did custom rag tops, rims, tint windows. And one time a friend of mine was bagging a car up in there, and I told him not to touch nothing, and he hit a button, and the switch let the back down on top of some batteries, and the gas tank got on fire, and one thing led to another. My brother was trying to get there. We had 2 drug dealer cars in the shop, and one thing led to another. We couldn't get the cars out, so we ended up had to just get out of the building, and the whole shop went up in flames, and the 2 drug dealer cars, which then had made my brother, the one way to know how to pay him back was to begin to sell drugs. So he did that, and then while I was still dibbling and dabbling, and I knew that my brother was having it, so I used to steal from him, and when I knew that he would get the drugs, sometimes I would be there with him, and and take a little bit here, take a little bit there, and he thought that I was selling it, which I was, but I began to be a customer of the product myself. And like I said, it went from the powder to the rock cook cocaine, which they call crack cocaine. And once again, I tried that out. And once I began to try that out, once I did that one time, it was like I was trapped. Couldn't go back. I was trapped. So I still held the job, but I was what you would call a functional addict. So I would go to work, but I would go to work, and the job that I worked at this one company, I would bring home maybe almost $700 a week. But when Saturday come, I probably would wake up. I was up all night, but I would have maybe some change and maybe have a couple of Newports in my pocket. So it started all over. I had to go back to work, and I just started getting tired. I got tired, and people, my family, they saw what I was doing, but I didn't see it. So I got tired, man. And then one day my brother, I went to get something from him, a package from him, and he asked me that question. he asked me, and I couldn't look him in his face, and he asked me, was I indulging in it? Are you doing this? And I couldn't look him in his eyes, and then from that point, he told me, don't come back to me for myself or nobody else. He said, I'm done with you. And that was that. So then I began to just keep doing it, until one time my girlfriend, which is my wife now for 23 years, she even saw the change. But one thing I would never do, because she smoked weed too, but I would never introduce her to the cocaine, because I saw how it made other women, how it make them act. And I didn't want to see my girl do the things what they would do. They would do some things that, but I did it, and then I got to that point where I didn't want to do it no more. So I was trying everything to come up out of it, but it wouldn't work. I tried the rehab, the 12-step. I used to take my things to the place. That didn't work. I tried mailing my paycheck, having my paycheck mailed to the house. That didn't work, because sometimes I would go intercept my check. I would go get my check out the mailbox before I even go in the house, and I'd just disappear. And it just got bad, got worse, and I used to give her money, my girlfriend, and she would tell me that one time she told me, she said, take your money back, don't give me nothing else, because I know the drug dealer kids have nice things, but yours don't have nothing. So I made a statement, and I never will forget. I said, well, the word prayer came up, and I'm like, well, I think she said something about praying or whatever. But I told her, I made a little comment, maybe it was to God. I said, well, maybe he need to lock me up. I said, because he don't hear my prayers anyway. So I left the house, and before I left the house, I got a phone call from my cousin saying that he needed me to come and help him do something to somebody, or retrieve some things, because somebody took some things from him, which was drugs. So I called my brother, and my brother came pick me up, and we all went to this house where this person was at, and we was trying to get in. He wouldn't let us in, so we forced our way in. And when we went in, I saw the guy on the floor, and he had stole a pistol from my cousin, and he was just on the floor, looking crazy and geeked up or whatever. But he had the gun in his hand, and I was walking up towards him, not thinking. And I'm walking up towards him, just talking to him, and I got so close to where I was able to just take the gun right out of his hand, not knowing that he could have shot me, but I wasn't even thinking about that. So when I took the pistol out of his hand, and I began to hit the guy, with it, and blood was coming down from his head, and we ransacked his house, couldn't find the things that he had stolen. And I told my brother and my cousin, I said, hey man, he don't have nothing. He done smoked everything up, let's go. So we finally left the house, left the dude bleeding, passed this lady up, and she was looking at us, not knowing that this was the victim's sister. So when we left out of the apartment, I got into my brother's car, I'm in the back, we pulling off, and I see this lady come running back out of the building on the phone, doing talking, and I was looking at her, and I told my brother, let's go. So we left, and everybody went their separate ways. I went home, sat on the porch, and I was thinking about what I did to this guy. And, everybody went their separate ways. So finally when I was at my mom's house, and I stayed there all night. When I went to work, got to work, sitting on the loading dock, smoking a cigarette, and all of a sudden I hear my name called out over the PA saying that I need to come to the office. When I went to the office, sure enough, there were the police. They took me to jail, took me and put me in the paddy wagon. That's what they used to call it. They took me, and when I got into the vehicle, I thought about them very same words I said. Maybe God need to lock me up. That was like crystal clear. It's like I could hear the same words. And that moment, I felt like I was being rescued. I was rescued. Because, you can't get drugs. You can get drugs in jail, but you can't get it as quick as you can on the street. So there I was, getting cleaned out. One thing led to another, and I began to see how God was moving in my life, and I had a chance to just sit there. Wasn't going through no withdrawals or nothing. Usually people go through withdrawals. I didn't even go through that. And that moment, I was there facing the charges at substantial battery, home invasion, reckless endangerment of a firearm, criminal trespassing at the age of 32. So I was facing maybe all of that time they was going to run it together. They call that running wild, meaning that I could do every bit of that. But some miraculous things happened, man. While I was in there, I began to just sit back and just do some soul searching and, thinking. And I ended up hearing about this group coming into the facilities, this church, and I would stop playing dominoes or whatever and go to church, hear the word, and more so. And one thing led to another. To make a long story short, I watched God take my bail from $25,000, drop it to $1,000, and use the same stepfather that I didn't like to come and bail me out. And he said, I'm bailing him out because God told me to do it. And it was like, I didn't believe it, but my mom said, don't doubt God. Because I was trying to get everybody to hustle this money up to get me out, but he bailed me out. So I ended up getting out. But I had one more fall. But that fall right there, it catapulted me. It threw me to, it pushed me up, man, that I couldn't even get high no more, so, and, that led to that, man. So ever since then, I accepted Christ in my life, and then that was it, man. I just began to went from Saul to Paul. So my favorite scripture in the Bible is 2 Corinthians 5:17. It says that if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. So now I got new life, man. So it's a whole lot more I could say, man, but I'm living my best life now.
Based on your past experience with drugs, along with your relationship with God, how can you help others around the city of Milwaukee to avoid what you had to face?
Man, just make the right decision, man. You choose the people. Don't let them choose you. And even if you're fatherless, hey, you still can be a better person, and just say no. That's the old thing. They used to say, just say no. Or just listen to somebody that been there and done it. A lot of people say experience is the best lesson. I don't think so. I think listen is the best lesson. Listen and do it. Because a lot of people, you can listen, but don't do it. But you try, if you experience, you might not come back. But if you just listen to somebody that done been there, that's it, man.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Robertson. It has been a privilege interviewing you.
Thank you too, sir.
Is there anything that we didn't ask you that you would like to talk about?
No.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, man.